Hello and welcome to the first quarterfinals here at Grand Prix Utrecht in the Netherlands. It's been a big standard tournament, over 1,200 players starting out, and now we get a chance to see our first quarterfinal match. Samuel Vio of France on the left of our screen against Berk Akbulut of Turkey on the other side of things. It's Mardu Ballista, which is kind of an interesting variation on the Mardu Vehicles deck, up against 4-color Sahili, the one Sahili deck that's made it into the top 8 here, and Berk kicking things off with a copy of Attune with Ether to fetch up his second land, getting a couple of energy in the process.
Yeah, and this Mardu Ballista deck has made not just the first place after the Swiss in the hands of Samuel Vio, but there's actually 3 total copies in the top 8. The other one's in the hands of Alexander Haber and Fabrizio Campanino, alongside a more traditional Mardu deck list in the hands of local player Charlie Charbach.
Yeah, so if people are looking for any tweaks to the Mardu list that they think might be potent, this is certainly a great place to look. It turns out that Walking Ballista does seem to add a little bit of power to the already very powerful indeed Mardu Vehicles deck.
Yeah, decent start for Sam. Let's see if he has a 2-drop to follow that up. Ideally, something like a Strap Heap Scrounger would work. I do see a Thraven Inspector, which also does a decent enough job, and a lot of it will depend on what Berk Akbulut is doing here. He was so happy to make the top 8 because he was actually forced to play the last round against Fabrizio Campanino. Did lose, but squeaked in on tiebreakers over some other players in 8th place, and especially because his countryman Yusuf Vefa won GP Prague just a couple of weeks ago. He just is happy that he can go to the Pro Tour with a friend.
Yeah, it's a big deal when it comes to testing and so on, and we see the kind of the White Weenie-esque start here from Samuel Vio after a turn 1 Thraben Inspector, 2 more copies of Thraben Inspector on turn 2. The fact that the first one made a clue means that Spire of Industry was able to ensure that there were more copies of Thraben Inspector coming down on turn 2.
And now Othamnissa for Berk. Sees a Whirler Virtuoso. I think there was a Rogue Refiner as well. But Virtuoso is pretty nice against the board full of Thraben Inspectors.
As things stand, though, with a land that's coming into play tapped there in Lumbering Falls, it is going to be a little bit of beatdown coming from the Frenchman on these early turns. And of course, as first seed, he will get the option of going first in every single round that he plays in this top 8 if he can make it out of these quarterfinals.
Yeah, huge advantage for anyone. He doesn't have that many cards in his hand, making me think that maybe he might have mulliganed here, but I think he will be able to swing in for 3 anyway, and might have a Thalia follow-up, which is pretty good against the Whirler Virtuoso, forcing all the creatures to come into play tapped. But it looks like no, he's going to add a Toolcraft Exemplar first.
So many 1-drops here. I think that Samuel should be on 19 here. He will have taken a point of damage from that Spire of Industry in order to get the second white mana on the second turn.
Yeah, indeed.
Berk Akbulut here does successfully find a land that will come into play untapped on turn 3. After turn 3, it's much harder to have lands coming into play untapped. Whirler Virtuoso with 5 energy to play with.
Yeah, and now Sam can start just bringing some of the cards back that he invested in the previous turn, sacking a clue, drawing a planes here, and he looks to be fairly set here, even though he obviously has to count with the threat of the Whirler Virtuoso, only with 5 energy. But we know that can get out of hand very quickly. Validar Guardian, Attune with Ether, another Virtuoso, or even other energy producers in the 4-color Sahili deck.
So far, this Mardu Ballista deck been very, very low to the ground in terms of playing out its threats. Nothing that costs more than 1 mana thus far, but we may see that change this turn.
Ooh, 4 mana makes me think Gideon right away. Oh, Walking Ballista.
Walking Ballista with 2 counters on it. That means that at least one of the Thopters coming into play for Berk Akbulut was going to not last too long. Potentially a couple of them.
And it's also another great thing about this Mardu Ballista deck is that it gives you another annoying creature or another annoying card that can deal with the Sahili combo. Because we know that the Sahili Rai combo cannot go off if there's a Walking Ballista and play with the counter on it, just because you can break it up at any time by pinging the Sahili down. So this gives the Mardu Ballista deck an edge in this matchup, which was already, I think, pretty decent pre-sideboard.
Big swings coming in here from Samuel Vio. He's unafraid of that Well, a Virtuoso. With a few counters on his Walking Ballista, he knows that he will be able to finish it off if it chooses to block.
Yeah, Berg saying that. Now I'm still thinking. This looks like the best sort of block. He will be dealt 5 damage though, so that's one of the downsides. He could trade off with the Toolcraft Exemplar, but he might try to get some value here first.
All right, so it looks like we've got our blocks all sorted out here. And one thing that he does need to consider is whether or not he's going to be making any Thopters here. As things stand, Samuel Villot says, yeah, damage can happen, you can take 5. And no further plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as expected. Let's see what Berg can come up with here.
Well, there's a Felidar Guardian.
All right.
If there's white mana here...
There is not.
Flickering a Well, a Virtuoso, not a terrible play. We see Harness Lightning to deal with Walking Ballista. That means that it's not going to get to shoot down any Thopters. It's not going to stop any combos. It's simply going to do a couple of points to Beck on the way out.
All right, we'll make sure to update the life totals here because I don't think the swing from the previous turn was registered. There we go. So down to 9 already.
And Attune with Ether, fetching up another land. I'm guessing it's going to be a white source here, given that we know that there is already that Felidar Guardian in hand. And right now, Samuel Villot, he's kind of swinging for the fences. Previously, he had Walking Ballista to prevent any kind of Saheeli combo. That one's gone away now. So, in principle, even though the life totals now look like it's very much in favor of the Frenchman, there's nothing to say that Berk Akbulut of Turkey is not going to be able to steal this game next turn.
Yeah, Berk is up to 7 energy. So he can create 2 Thopters here, and I think put this board on lockdown a little bit. I think I see a Spire of Industry in Samuel's hand, but only 1 other card. So there's not that much action on the Frenchman side. Oh, I think he drew Chandra though. Does he have 2 red sources? It doesn't seem so. I think he has to play the Spire of Industry to get the Chandra. And take 2 points in the process. And he can swing first.
So this is an attack for 3 because of those 2 clues. Toolcraft Exemplar is getting some tools to work with. And 2 Thopters being created here by Beck.
Blocking with both. Not exposing his World Virtuoso. He wants to keep the 2-3 around. Pretty risky here because if Vio had maybe like Fatal Push or Unlicensed Disintegration, he could have punished Berk there.
And of course, if there'd been a 3rd clue in play, then there would have been First Strike to tangle with. But we don't need to worry about that.
Yep.
I think both parts of the combo are in Berk Akbalut's hand here.
They are.
This is exciting stuff.
I like it. Berk can also play the Felidar Guardian and blink the Oath of Nissa to get something good in his hand, or maybe even the Roller Virtuoso just to get some more energy to create a Thopter if he wants to. So he's got all the tools he needs. He just needs to make sure that some of you will not be able to break up the combo. Let's see what the Vio can do here, but I think he's going to go for the Chandra. And I assume he's going to plus and deal 2 to Berk, unless he maybe reveals something like Toolcraft Exemplar or similar.
Well, here's Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
This also means that it's Berk cannot just play a Felidar Guardian on the board because Samuel would gladly then minus Chandra to get rid of it. So here's the plus. Okay, Foreboding Ruins, take 2.
All right.
Ooh, Elder Deep Fiend.
I like it.
Yeah.
A few extra options here.
It depends on how slow he wants to play it because he does have quite a decent number of cards in hand. I think he's about to play. He also has an island. So I think what he could do theoretically is play the Elder Deep Fiend, sacrificing the Verlo Virtuoso, and then tap down maybe some of the red sources, the Spire of Industries and whatnot, just to make sure that some of you will not be able to interrupt the Berg's combo that I think he can do next turn.
I like this plan.
Yeah. So and it has to make Samuel a little bit suspicious here. Well, why is he attacking with the Virtuoso? What does that mean?
Yeah, it certainly seems like an unusual one given the way that this board is laid out. There's a fairly simple block to work with here. But basically this is a free attack if he's planning on using the Elder Deep Fiend.
Yeah, no, it was attacking the Chandra, so just passes the turn here. On your upkeep, Elder Deep Fiend. Alright, what is he going to tap down? I think he's going to tap 4 lands here. I think he might leave Samovio with just a Spire, or maybe...
I mean, I think a Plains is
Plains
probably
the best one. Yeah.
Scary of all these lands. Yes, it means that there could be various creatures played, but various creatures are not what he's worried about.
Yep. Yeah, tap those 4 lands.
Also, I've got this big giant Eldrazi.
Nice blocker.
Oh, yeah. So, Samuel, you can float some mana here, but I'm not sure that there's going to be much you can do with it beyond crack a clue. Or 2.
Sure, he could. He might also want to keep an artifact in play for one of the following turns maybe, but he's definitely going to stack at least 1. Okay. We already get an update from one of the other feature matches. Charlie Charbach actually forgot to sideboard before the top 8, so he did get a game loss, so David Brooker is up a game already.
Lesson learned there.
That's a very rough lesson.
It happens to the best players. In fact, it happened to Ivan Floch in the
Pro Tour.
Like one of the last rounds of the Pro Tour. Ivan Floch just missed top 8, and had he remembered to sideboard before his match against Eduardo Sajgalek, he may have been able to win that round, and that would have been another top 8 for him.
Yeah.
So we are seeing another result coming through. Nielsen picking up his first win. That Casper Nielsen against Alexandra Haber. Yeah. So 2 games already down, and that in favor of black-green in both cases.
Yeah, exactly. Mardu on the receiving end, and I think a similar story is developing in this game. Samvio did go through his upkeep, drawing for both of those clues, and now that was smart. Look at that! So he used the mana from Chandra and the Plains to cast a Thalia.
Yeah, Thalia will mean that creatures are coming into play tapped on Berk Akbalut's side of the board. That meaning that the big cat combo, not so big and special anymore.
Maybe he should have left the swamp untapped.
As it turns out.
Of course. You never quite know what these decks can... I mean, you know, because they know deck lists, of course, we know what is usually the case, but at least Berk does have Harness Lightning to deal with the... We'll deal with the Thalia, get some energy, and he could have left up white mana to play Feldar Guardian, but he doesn't want. I don't think he should play it here, so he's just going to play a Tamiyo. Tap maybe both Traven Inspectors and kill the Chandra. I like it. This works. Remember, you can cast Tamiyo for any colored mana, so that's with Oath of Nissa in play, so that's why it worked out the way it did, and Chandra's off the board.
That was a great turn for Berk Akbalut. It wasn't the great turn that I expected. I was kind of expecting to see a big combo that turn, but as it turns out, that option also a very powerful one.
I like it. Let's see what Sam Vio can do here now that he's drawn a couple of cards. I think he has another Chandra that he can't cast just yet because he sacked all those clues, so his Spires don't produce red mana anymore. But he does have a Gideon, but once he plays it, I'm pretty sure Berk Akbulut is going to go for the kill with the Sahili and the Feldar Guardian.
So Samuel Vio carefully considering his options here. Goes with Gideon, leaving just black mana up here.
Yeah. Signaling Fatal Push.
And there is a Knight ally token coming along with Gideon. A fairly familiar story for any of you that's been playing Standard in the last year or two.
So there's a Feldar Guardian. It's gonna blink a land. And there's the Saheeli. And he's gonna go for the kill. And Berk Akbulut up a game here over Samuel Vio.
I'm sure that we will have some cheering in the chat as Turkey takes down another game win. Big game win there. It looked like for a long while Berk Akbulut behind. There was a very aggressive start from Samuel Vio, but it turns out it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And we actually have a result from our fourth table as well. It is Trong Tuan, that is one game up again with Black-Green over Mardu Vehicles. Mardu Vehicles, they have not picked up a game yet in this top 8. It's 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. And if you look at the tables, you can see that there's players shuffling up all over. We are going to see no magic right now, but that's because there's plenty more magic to come.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like Mardu, then I think you're sitting pretty in home watching this, because Mardu deck's on the losing side in all 4 matches. So we'll see how many of this convert, because we know the Mardu deck is pretty resilient. I'd be surprised if we didn't see any in the semifinals.
Yeah, and we know that especially with some of these Mardu Ballista decks, they can kind of turn into more control-oriented Planeswalker decks after sideboarding. So calling it vehicles is a little bit of a misnomer in some respects, given some of the adjustments that have been made. But do let us know in the chat if you're more Team Snek or Team Mardu, or indeed, I guess, Team Berk Akbulut with his 4-color Saheeli. I know that there's a few Saheeli supporters in the crowd also.
Of course, and a lot of I heard some rumblings about a lot of Turkish Magic players supporting their friend Berg in this top 8.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some great momentum for Turkey in this last few months. I mean, when you have a Turkish player winning GP Prague, and then now another Turkish player in the top 8 here in Utrecht in the Netherlands, begins to be the start of something. Getting multiple players to the same Pro Tour is a great way of spurring everybody on to work together and push on further. That's one of the reasons, of course, the World Magic Cup's so great, because you get players all working together to a common goal. And we get a chance to see now Charlie Trabach against David Brooker. Trabach on the play here. He was on the play in game 1. It didn't work out too well for him there. Toolcraft Exemplar with no artifacts. Spire of Industry with no artifacts. Meanwhile, David Brooker has a Winding Constrictor on turn 2.
No Fatal Push from Charlie Trabach here. And he might have a trouble developing his board here, because I don't see any red mana, and he can't cast Pia here. Maybe he has a Cultivator's Caravan. Yeah, there it is. All right, so that's going to give him any color of mana. Also, Toolcraft Exemplar gets pumped up and trades with the Snake.
That's an interesting one.
Right?
The fact that David Brooker willing to trade off a creature that provides a huge amount of benefit when it's on the battlefield against a Toolcraft Exemplar that didn't look that dangerous. I mean, I guess it signals that he doesn't want to see any vehicles crewed anytime soon, because Toolcraft Exemplar could jump in that Cultivator's Caravan, which would attack as a 5/5. Natural Obsolescence puts the Caravan on the bottom, and basically it looks like Brooker kind of playing for the long game here.
Yeah, but speaking of long game, Gideon, I don't know if you want to face that in a long game. And David Brooker, while trading his first Winding Constrictor because he has 2 more in his hand, now he's going to be facing that Gideon. Never a good thing to see.
Fatal Push dealing with the token, so clearing a path, but having to use removal spells on tokens that have been created, but not the card that's creating them, doesn't feel super efficient. Tireless Tracker coming down now, Evolving Wilds meaning 2 clue tokens as it immediately fetches up another forest.
Yeah, so at least David Brooker's on the board with a solid thread, but Charlie, with already that Gideon developed, is going to have a much easier time playing further spells. He still doesn't have any artifacts to make that Spire create red mana, but he just drew an Ether Hub, so that's another good way. I think he has a Skywillow shot in hand as well, so he can take down the tracker at any time. Oh, look at that, aggressive.
I like it. Gideon getting stuck in, attacking David Brooker, and that's one way to close out games. You just tick up your Planeswalker and see if your opponent can do anything at all about it.
All right, so let's see. Okay, energy for Charlie here. All right, and here comes the PNLR, using that energy from the Ether Hub right away. Not keeping up any mana for the Skywiller shot, so I'm assuming one of these cards will jump in front of the Tireless Tracker here to protect the Gideon. So, but Winding Constrictor first.
Winding Constrictor certainly seems like it combines well with everything in the deck. It does,
Yeah,
it does work well with Tireless Tracker.
Yeah, here comes the tracker.
How many of the creatures that Charlie Tribeck has going on want to jump in front of the tracker? Just a Thopter, as it turns out. And there's another Winding Constrictor. So any +1/+1 counters going on now, or indeed energy being added to David Brooker's energy pool, will be added to greatly by all of those snakes.
Indeed.
Okay, we have heard that our main match has just kicked off. I kind of want to see how this 4-color Saheeli deck does after sideboarding.
Yeah, me too.
Let's jump across and see a little bit more of Berk Akbulut against Samuel Vio on our main match.
There we go. All right, the play's already started. That's great. Samuel Vio with no 1-drop this time, but the Scrap Heap Scrounger is where you want to be. Artifact, a good efficient creature, and they can start the beats right away.
Actually representing more damage with this start than he was with all of those 1-drops in the early game in Game 1. Just an Ether Hub on turn 2 for Berk Akbulut. It's not necessarily as surprising that his deck's not doing as much on the early turns, but I think that I see a Kozilek's return in hand for him, and that could be a very big one against what Samuel Vio has going on.
Yeah, I quite like this plan, especially if you play the version of the 4-color Saheeli deck with Elder Deepfin in the main deck. Kozilek's returns from the sideboard have that much more power. Can sweep the board twice, especially against these sorts of decks. And you can get a huge advantage if Samuel Vio plays not a Walking Ballista, but a Thalia Heretic Cathar here. He's going to get sweet value off that Kozilek's return and get 2 annoying creatures off the board. Even though we know the Scrap Heap Scrounger can come back at any time.
For now, though, playing kind of slow and steady, both these players.
Look at
Nothing
that.
from turn 3 from Samuel Vio. Perhaps just holding up an Unlicensed Disintegration, hoping that he's going to get to snag something important.
That's exactly what he's doing here. And now Berk has to think about that a little bit, because that must be a little suspicious.
Will of Virtuoso coming down, adding 3 energy to the energy pool, 4 in total, thanks to the 1 that had already come from Ether Hub. And this enough for an Unlicensed Disintegration. But will there be a parting shot from this Will of Virtuoso? Looks like it. We are going to see a Thopter coming down for the Turkish player here.
Yeah, I mean, Vio could have responded to the trigger that gives energy to deny this, but maybe doesn't mind the Thopter that much. We don't quite see what else he has in his hand. I think I saw a Gideon and
there is a
Thalia.
Thalia in hand, yeah.
Ooh, Nahir as well. All right, so just a chump block. And there's the Gideon that we mentioned. Had the untapped land, the Spire of Industry to play it out. And now the Knight's going to keep coming and putting the pressure firmly on Berk Akbulut. If we saw anything, Samuel Vio is not a stranger to +1 in Gideon and starting to swing in for massive amounts of damage.
A natural state in hand here for Berk Akbulut, that the draw. But it looks like he might actually have the pieces of the combo again, so that may be his plan, to just sort of shape these early turns such that he can find a suitable window to go off with first Felidar Guardian and then Saheeli Rai. Or I guess in the other order. They're pretty interchangeable. We will find out soon enough, though, either way.
Yeah, it looks like Berk was thinking about maybe playing a Saheeli and then leaving him natural state. I don't like that at all. I don't think you want to expend your resources that much. I would much prefer him playing the Felidar Guardian, blinking his Ether Hub.
Yeah, gain an energy, represent 1 mana of any color.
Yeah, and just getting 1/4 on the board is also quite decent. Of course, some of you could always just Chandra minus, but if he has Chandra, I think you're not doing that great either, because I mean, he could still wait. He has Kozlek's return in his hand. But I think seeing Samuel Vio play, he's not going to hesitate on just plussing the Gideon and swinging for 10.
All right, let's see which option the Turkish player chooses to go with here.
Lots of cards. All right, so he goes for the Feldar Guardian. Or is he? No, he's still changing his mind. You know, he has a lot of the Turkish players behind him, and they already berated him a little bit before for how he played the last round. They didn't quite agree, so he just wants to make sure he's playing this right. He doesn't want to disappoint them.
I'm sure that all of the feedback comes with love. They just want to make sure that their countryman does as well as possible.
Yeah, for sure. They just want him to win, so they want him to play as best he can. Look at that. As I expected, Sam Wio with a big attack with Gideon as well. But here comes Kozlek's return, so at least that's going to kill 2 of the creatures, prevent 5, and Berk is going to go down to 9 here.
And we have another update in the matchup between Kasper Nielsen and Alexandra Haber. It is now 1-1 there. It's the Mardu Ballista deck versus Black-Green. 1 game left in order to figure out who's going to be the victor there. Gradually, this top 8 advancing toward the semi-finals. Right now, though, still in the quarterfinals. Berk Akbulut of Turkey, 1 game up against Samuel Vio. Akbulut, the 8th seed, which means that every single round he's going to have to be on the draw initially. And there's a lot of Mardu decks that really like being on the play, so it could be a rough ride in this top 8.
Look at that Nahiri from the Mardu Ballista deck.
So many Planeswalkers.
Yeah. Now Berk is just gonna check what it does. So with the possibility you can discard a card from your hand to draw a new card, and you don't have to discard a card, but the +2 is basically free. And you can also use the rummage ability, and then -2 is exile target tapped creature, tapped artifact, or an enchantment. The enchantment doesn't have to be tapped though.
Probably for the best. Not too many tapped enchantments in Magic. It happens from time to time, but slightly corner cases there.
Yeah.
As things stand, I mean, this is one of the hallmarks of specifically the Mardu Ballista deck, the fact that it can become much more like a Planeswalker control deck after sideboarding. And that leaves Berk Akbulut with a few questions of his own to answer.
Yeah. Tough spot for Berk here. He's under a lot of pressure from the 2 Planeswalkers, and also the Nahiri just churning through cards will help Samuel just find removal to break up the Feldar Guardian Sahili Rai combo. Doesn't have that much else going on as well.
Now, if you're Berk here, are you tempted to take a shot, throw down the Feldar Guardian and hope for the best?
Probably, yeah. I would just play the Feldar Guardian and blink my Ether Hub here. If Samuel Vio has removal, I think Berk is dead anyway, so he might as well try at least to go for it. Plays the Feldar Guardian here. Yep. Spends an energy to create white mana, but then gets the Ether Hub back and gets the energy back as well. So let's see if Vio has an answer here for the Guardian.
And of course, Samuel Vio, well aware of exactly what could be coming next turn. He needs to figure out if there's a way that he can play around it, or if he needs to simply hope that his opponent has not found the appropriate cards.
Yeah, but I think Vio is firmly in the driver's seat. I think we saw the Thalia Heretic Cathar. That's a card that stops the combo on its own because all the copied cats come into play tapped, so they can't attack. And I think he also had a Walking Ballista in his hand.
So we're in a spot where if there is something like that in order to make Berk Akbulut's plan a little bit more difficult, he will need a removal spell as well if there is a Thalia coming down now.
I think I also see Authority of the Consuls.
Wow.
Coming in from the sideboard.
Authority of the Consuls is very, very tough for the 4-color Sahili deck to go off through.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways, but I don't think there are that many ways for this particular version that Berk is sporting. He can try to win with Elder Deep Fiend and Kozlek's return flashbacks, but it's very hard. All right, so we're going to see a Walking Ballista on 2. That's one problem for Berk, preventing him from going off. and the authority of the consoles.
Okay, so there are multiple reasons that trying to go off with the Saheeli combo now is going to be problematic.
Indeed, and I don't think Berg has the time or the resources to deal with either of those.
Yeah, if it was just a walking ballista, then a harness lightning off the top would be enough to kill off the creature and then go for it. But with authority of the consoles as well, he's in check now. He basically has to do something this very turn if he's going to win this game. Samuel Vio on 20 life. If Beck was able to successfully make the combo of Saheeli Rai and Faladar Guardian work, 20 life is not a problematic number to deal with, but Authority of the Consoles, talk us through what it does, Matej, because it really does make the entire combo essentially null and void.
Yeah, so it says creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped, so that's already a big problem because they just come into play tapped, so they can't attack. And but also, in addition, it says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain 1 life. So it's a double whammy. So
Natural State did deal with the Authority of the Consoles. Is there a way to kill off that Walking Ballista to be able to go for this combo this turn? If there's not, then basically Berk Akbalut pretty much out of this game. Gideon gets to attack next turn. Walking Ballista potentially gets to do something too. Saheeli Rai is coming down here.
Yeah, he needed another Natural State, and that would have been enough to win the game and match right here. I think he's just gonna walk us through how these things do not work. Because yeah, he's gonna ping he's gonna plus the Saheeli though. He's not gonna go for the minus. Cause that would just mean that the Saheeli would die right away. So he just pings on the Saheeli with the Nahiri for 1 and Scries 1.
All right, so Samuel Vio, it should be fairly elementary for him to close this one out at this point. Berk Akbalut just not quite been able to piece all the things that he needed to together to get this one working. He had the Natural State to deal with one or other of the artifacts / enchantments that Samuel Vio had, but when there were 2, that just a little bit too much to pressure this Saheeli Rai combo.
Yeah, precisely. So when Vio still with a card in hand. Let's see what he can come up with here. I wanted to see the Nahiri ultimate. You know, him fetching up a good creature in his deck and just swinging.
I mean, we've seen some Saheeli decks that run Nahiri and can potentially fetch up the combo with a Nahiri.
Yeah.
If you've already got Saheeli, just fetch up that Faladar Guardian.
Indeed.
As things stand, though, some swings coming in here. All at Beck.
And you can see why Berg is down to 4, but virtually 2 life because of that Walking Ballista. So Berg just needs to block both creatures, but
blocking both creatures, problematic when you only have 1 creature to block with.
Yeah. Take 2 and ping you. I think Berg's gonna go for a cheeky. Are you redirecting the damage to my Saheeli?
That's certainly the way that I would go on that. And Beck certainly does have fun in the feature match area every time he's there, but that game possibly not as much fun for him as game 1. But still big smiles for the Turkish player as they go to their sideboards. Going to game 3, we do get a chance to jump across and see a little bit more magic while these guys are sideboarding though, because we still have plenty of matches going on in our feature match area now. We do have our first results though. David Brucker of Germany successfully defeats Charlie Trabach. So 1 Mardu Vehicles deck knocked out. Black-Green Snakes will be the opponent of either Samuel Vio or Berk Akbalut, depending on how that matchup finishes up. On the other side of things, it's 1-1 for Alexander Haber against Casper Nielsen, and it is 1-1 for Fabrizio Campanino of Italy versus Tuan Trong. As we see here.
Ooh, they're going. This is already a very advanced board state. You can see it looks like Tuan has a huge board advantage. Now also has a Rishkar with a Winding Constrictor in play. We know how these games go.
They do not tend to last too long. He's saying that he wants to put counters on Winding Constrictor and, of course, that Walking Ballista. Each of them actually getting 2 counters here. So there we go. 2 counters on Winding Constrictor, 2 counters on Walking Ballista, and Walking Ballista with lots of counters on, just a very powerful threat.
Yeah, and Twan still has a fatal push in his hand as well, and he has the life advantage here. Look at the big swing here. Take 8.
Fabrizio Campanino does have a Fumigate in hand. He needs to find a 5th land for it. Even if he plays it, he's still going to be going down to 2 because of that Walking Ballista. So this is not the end of the game. I guess 3 because he's going to gain a life off having 1 artifact in play. This is a tough time for the Italian, though.
It's actually, he's going to gain 2 because it counts number of creatures destroyed this way. So he's going to go down to 2, and once the Fumigate resolves, I think he's going to go up to 4. Unless
I apologize, yes.
Okay, you had me scared for a second that I forgot what Fumigate was doing. So again, Fabrizio Campanino down to 2. So he does have an Ether Sphere Harvester, though. There's a Hissing Quagmire, but that enters the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, the timing not perfect for Trantrong on that one. Fabrizio Campanino trying to fight back on this Mardu Ballista deck that we've got so many features of in these top 8. There is a Scrap Heap Scrounger. Another Scrap Heap Scrounger in the graveyard. This first one crewing up. This is how you get back in the game. A little bit of lifelink for your Ether Sphere Harvester. Chomping in for 3 in the air.
Yep. Must feel very good for Fabrizio here, getting 3 life back, and he generated a lot of energy, not only from the Harvester but from the 2 Ether Hubs, so he can keep swinging and gaining some life back. So this game, that Fumigate again, what a huge swing. I think in Twantrong just drawing more and more removal here, and not any of them can deal with the Ether Sphere Harvester.
Yeah, Ether Sphere Harvester, toughness of 5 when it's animated, and when it's not animated, well, a lot of creature removal simply not going to work on it. Second Scrap Heap Scrounger coming back, exiling Thalia. Double fatal push. Get out of my game, says Twantrong. I do not want to have to deal with all of those Scrap Heap Scroungers.
They might start feasting on each other. Or alternatively, Fabrizio Campanino can go the control route and play an Obnixilis that I think he has. He's now that he gained some life back, it's much safer to play on this board. He has to decide, does he want to take a damage from the Spire of Industry or just use an energy? This is a decision to be made.
Avoiding damage, certainly a nice feature.
Yeah, advisable.
But equally, every point of energy is a point of lifelink that you can potentially grant. Yeah, looks like he is going to spend the energy there. Here's Obnixilis.
And plus, getting some life back. Twantrong does have the Hissing Quagmire to maybe keep it down a little bit. He would rather attack Fabrizio's face. Alright, scrounging it up. It's going to cost him life this time because he wants to keep that energy for the Harvester.
Some Scrounger on Scrounger violence there, enabling one Scrounger in play, able to crew Ether Sphere Harvester. Swinging in for 3 in the air.
Just an Ether Hub, I think, for Twantrong. He's just really missing some sort of big threat, especially in the face of Obnixilis that can just threaten to run away with the game.
Yeah, after this Fumigate, the Black-Green Constrictor deck struggling to rebuild.
Yeah, Fatal Push and Grasp of Darkness in his hand.
And this is game 3, so not a huge amount of time and space to maneuver here. Hissing Quagmire attacking Obnixilis down to 4.
Not great.
It feels like only moments ago that there was not enough life to even consider doing anything of the fashion of paying life, but subsequently Obnixilis has been giving lots of extra cards for Fabrizio Campanino. Worth noting that Campanino was also top 8 in Prague. He's been having a fantastic month or so of Magic. 2017 working well for him.
Yeah.
And it sounds like as much as this match is going, we've got another match going as well. We'll see if we can just hold out on this one for another minute or two.
Yeah.
Just see whether or not Campanino can turn a corner here. But we will jump back to see 4-color Saheeli against Mardu soon enough.
Yeah, I think Fabrizio has this on lockdown. I mean, he has the Planeswalker advantage. He got some life back through the Ether Sphere Harvester. There is some discrepancy in the life totals, though. I think Twan just forgot to notch down maybe one of the life gains here. So at least that got dealt with. Yeah, there we go. 10-8.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of a turn or two for Fabrizio Campanino to close this out. We will hang fire with this one just so that we can make sure that we can keep track of what's going on.
Yeah, they're just pointing out that he indeed has not played land just yet, because one of the turns before he played Ob Nixilis and brought back Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Another Oath of Nissa for Tran Trong in hand. Plays one to replace the other. Dig, dig, dig. It's going to have to be pretty good.
I mean, Gearhulk's pretty good, but we just know that Ob Nixilis can just take care of that and go for lethal here. So I think we're seeing the last couple of moments for Tran Trong here. Look at that, and he's like, "Oh, what am I going to do here?" He fought so hard to get into the top 8. I think he was 7-2 after day 1 and just won out. As did Casper Nielsen, who is already eliminated though. He's losing to Alexander Haber in our other feature matches.
So Casper Nielsen advancing.
No, Casper Nielsen losing.
Apologies. So we're going to have at least one Mardu deck.
At least one, probably two.
Probably two, possibly three.
Maybe four.
Well, one of them's already been knocked out by David Brooker, so
I know.
Charlie Trabach, unfortunately, will not be advancing to the semi-finals, but all the other Mardu decks still in with a wing and a prayer. Tran Trong, he's in Magic the Puzzling right now, desperately trying to find a way of staying in this game. These Mardu decks that have found a way of turning into board control decks after sideboarding. Just a very interesting swerve on the regular Mardu plan that seems to have been great. I mean, unlike Black-Green Constrictor, this is a deck that can reasonably wrath the board. And there we see it, Fabrizio Campanino, a little pump of the fist from him. We will see him in the semi-finals, and now we're going to head back to our main match. We're going to get a chance to see Forkala Sahili against Mardu Ballista. Looks like we've not missed too much on the left of our screen. Vio has started things off with a Thraben Inspector, passed without spending mana on turn 2, and meanwhile, Whirler Virtuoso for a Beck Akbalut. Early doors, scores are 20-20, 1 game to 1, everything to play for.
And with our other matches closing out like this is going to be our last semi-finalist decided in this game, which is certainly exciting. So at least 2 of the Mardu decks turn it around. So we'll see if it's going to be the full 3, or rather the 3, because we already know that Charlie Trabach already eliminated by David Brooker there, the former European champion.
Yeah, and on his profile, he suggested it was 1872 the European Championships happened. It was a little later than that, but it's certainly Magic history at this point.
Yeah, it was 2002, and I certainly know Kai Buda was very excited about this. Old buddies, I would assume.
So this is an unlicensed disintegration coming down now on the Whirler Virtuoso. Beck Akbalut having to decide whether or not he wants to make a Thopter or perhaps save that energy so that he's got a little bit more mana flexibility with that Ether Hub, because he does not have any red sources aside from Ether Hub.
All right, and swinging with the Thraben Inspector. Finally some movement on those life totals. I think there's another Whirl of Virtuoso from Berk though, which should work really well alongside his Elder Deep Fiend that I also see in his hand.
So there's some red mana. That does mean that he's not going to have to lean so hard on the Ether Hub.
Okay, just passes the turn here. Must have other plans. I think I also saw a negate. He's probably scared of a 4-mana Planeswalker. We've seen Chandra and Gideon do so much damage over several turns.
Yeah, I mean, against this Mardu Ballista deck, negate seems fantastic. A lot of what it's doing once it gets up to higher amounts of mana is non-creature spells. Samuel Vio, plenty of options in hand. Starts things off with an attack for 1. Beck Akbalut going down to 14 here.
And Samuel Vio, a lot of cards in his hand. A lot of mana too. Maybe he's going to play a Walking Ballista? No, and Hiri.
Is this going to be good enough to receive a negate?
I think so, yeah.
Looks like it is.
I mean, it's a decent mana trade for Berg Akbalut, but I don't think Nahiri was particularly scary on this board. Let's see, I think Berg is going to go for Attune and Verla Virtuoso, if I'm not mistaken, but he doesn't have actually that much going on. I mean, we know he has that Elder Deep Fiend. That can help him in one of the following turns, but yeah, that he's going to go up to 3 energy. He's going to play the Virtuos, go up to 6 energy. So at least it's going to give him 2 more Thopters. That's a good way to take the pressure off of you when you're facing Planeswalkers and similar.
We've seen a lot of play from Willa Virtuoso this weekend. It was one of the key things that we saw in a lot of the Temur Dynavolt Tower decks as well.
Yeah.
Just an efficient way of getting multiple creatures for your mana, and if you've got ways of generating energy, it's an easy way of spending it.
Yeah, and sometimes against some decks you really want to spend energy on just developing your board with Thopters rather than investing the energy into lightning bolts from the Dynavolt Tower. So it was a good way to go about a couple of matchups where the Virtuoso really gained you a lot of time, but also presented a threat to the life totals of your opponents or Planeswalkers, as I mentioned earlier.
Samuel there draws Oath of Chandra for his turn.
Interesting. So he boarded those in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not the greatest removal in the face of the combo, but it's pretty solid removal in the face of just your opponent throwing creatures around.
Yeah. Especially when the Berg Akbalut is trying to go for like an Elder Deep Fiend. Just being able to kill the 3 casting cost creatures as they come in is a pretty big advantage. You can left those Elder Deep Fiends stranded.
It's fun that the 1 mana Thraben Inspector still good enough to keep in after sideboarding, even if you're planning on being kind of this controlling deck, because it's a 1 mana creature that generates artifacts, which keeps your mana consistent.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes lets you draw cards.
And it can crew some vehicles as well. But protecting your Planeswalkers is pretty nice.
One thing that we do see from Oath of Chandra in a deck like Samuel Vio's is that he has a lot of Planeswalkers. So getting the enchantment to trigger deal 2 damage to your opponent is something that's a very reasonable expectation.
Yeah. If there's one card I would love to see from Berg Akbalut's side, it would be Tamio. You know, plussing it to have the Thopters draw your cards whenever they deal damage. I think he has the Plains in his hand. And the Elder Deep Fiend, of course.
There's already Spire of Industry, already Ether Hub, of course, for him. So,
but he's out of energy. He spent it all to create the Thopters, so that's why. Okay, Kozilek's return. Yeah, I mean that's not great when you just went wide with your Thopters. You don't really want to be Kozilek's returning. He does have a Lumbering Falls as well, so maybe he can be the one to turn on the aggression here. I like that.
Who's the beat down? At the moment, at least, it's Berg Akbalut.
Swinging for 6. I like it. Lumbering Falls has X-Proof.
Yeah, Lumbering Falls, a nice pickup for many of these decks, and another reason why perhaps the Dynavolt Tower decks moved into green a little bit. Good fixing, and against decks that are looking to 1-for-1, 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 it's a creature that's a little bit more difficult to do that against. Yeah,
we keep talking about these Temur energy control decks, and it's because there were a lot of really good players playing them. And if I look at the standings, there was actually Andrei Strarsky in 11th place at 12-3 that played the Temur control tower deck, and also Oliver Polak-Rotman also went X-3 with a similar archetype. I think Joe Larson lost the last round to fall down to X-4, but the deck's still solid even though it didn't make top 8 here.
Yeah, based on the pure numbers, not surprising that we saw a lot of Mardu decks and black-green decks doing well in this tournament, simply because they were the most prevalent decks going into the tournament.
Yep.
I think the thing that's far more news for me is looking specifically at these Mardu Ballista lists that have really converted and made it into kind of an exciting different top 8, even to what we're used to when it comes to Mardu.
Yeah. The Mardu Ballista decks are just cutting veteran motorists and inventors' apprentices, while keeping a lot of the same cards, but they're investing more into Planeswalkers and into those Walking Ballistas. So they are a little bit slower, but they have a lot of options on what to do, and Walking Ballistas are fairly good in the mirror match as well if you ever get to cast them. Remember, this deck, while it can curve out, it can also play much slower.
And Walking Ballista on this board, Sadly, just a 1-1. There must be a better use for the remaining mana that Samuel Vio has going on there. But does have the opportunity to just shoot some of those Thopters right out of the sky.
Yeah, interesting. He could have played it for 2 here, but I assume he's keeping up Unlicensed Disintegration. Even though, remember, it cannot kill the Lumbering Falls. That has Hexproof, so I assume what Vio is just going to do here is going to block the Lumbering Falls and shoot down one of the Thopters, which I think Berg Akbulut will be fine with.
Yeah, he's ahead on life. He's still ahead on the board with that exchange.
Yeah, Berg's plan actually here should be to try to deal as much damage as possible and then try to steal the game with the Elder Deep Fiend, tapping down all of the blockers or something similar, if possible.
Another swing coming through here.
We might see an Unlicensed Disintegration on one of the Thopter tokens as well.
We've seen Unlicensed Disintegration on a Thopter a few times. It's not a particularly flashy play, but sometimes it's what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it deals 3 damage. He has an artifact.
Yeah, both of these players now under 10 life.
So 9 each. Then I think Samuel is going to drop down to 8 after he takes out one of the Thopter tokens here.
We've got a race on our hands here.
Indeed, I really didn't expect this. And Berg is, in this regard, he now has 7 mana. If he keeps that Thopter around, even though I'm pretty sure it's going to die, he could emerge the Elder Deep Fiend. But even if he doesn't manage to do that, if he draws 1 untapped source, he can just hardcast the Elder Deep Fiend. And with some of you down to 8, he's not missing that much damage.
All right. Samuel Vio looking at his hand there. Plenty of cards to work with. First up, evens up the life turtles 8 apiece.
This game's great.
Another Oath of Chandra, so he can kind of replace the one that he has in play simply to kill off that Thopter if he so chooses. What else has he got to work with? There's a Fatal Push in hand as well. His first 12 damage have come relatively quickly. The good thing for Berg Akbulut, that Lumbering Falls is a really problematic attacker for Samuel Vio to deal with.
What a card. Hexproof for the win. Oh, but look at that.
Is he simply attacking for 1 this time? It looks like he is.
Yeah, it doesn't attack with the Lumbering Falls. But he should have expected a lot of removal because some of you would have very likely played the creature or planeswalker if he had it. So he has to suspect there's more removal lurking in Vio's hand. And well, I mean that resolves, so he can just pass the turn for now.
We know there's still Kozilek's Return in hand for Berg Akbulut. This is now a Felidar Guardian, I believe.
Mm-hmm. It is indeed.
He's going to tap 4, but I'm guessing that what he's going to be blinking here is that Ether Hub.
Yep, think so too. All right.
Lets him generate just the 1 energy.
I don't like the way that Berg Blue tapped here. He should have left up 2 blue without the Ether Hub. He could have. He has the Falls and another Sanctum. Just for the Elder Deep Fiend emerge. In case, some of you could have gone like something like Chandra minus kill the Guardian and then the Elder Deep Fiend would have won the game.
I mean, Elder Deep Fiend sacrificing Felidar Guardian still a possibility here.
Yeah, sure.
It's just going to cost him energy to do so.
Yeah, of course. It's not that big of a deal.
And casting Kozilek's Return as well, just to clear out any blockers if needed.
Potentially. But I think Vio has a handful of removal. He has Fatal Push, Oath of Chandra, and I think he also has Unlicensed Disintegration. Even though there's no artifact in play, remember. Not anymore. Yeah, you can see Samuel Vio firmly under pressure. He has to find the best way to go about this. I'm surprised he didn't shoot out the Thopter a little bit earlier, either with a Fatal Push or the other Oath of Chandra that he has.
Yeah, Samuel Vio here, playing it slow and steady. And playing it that way has got him up to first seed. Any matches he plays in this top 8, he will have the privilege of being able to choose if he wants to be on the play or the draw. I'm guessing it's the play. All right, there is Thalia Heretic Cathar. So respecting the fact that there could be Saheeli Rai coming down and also keeping up mana for removal. Not quite sure what he's got there. I think that there is an unlicensed disintegration.
I think so too. Is Berg Akbulut going to pull the trigger? I think he can smell the win here. And okay, so he's going to go for Coast Laser turn 4 first.
Well, that will be enough to deal with Thalia.
Okay, yeah. And the Trade Inspector, Thopch is going to eat the dust as well. And then the Fatal Push is going to deal with Feldar Guardian after those creatures have died. But this is fine for Berg, I think. He can just swing in with when the Lumbering falls again. If he wants.
I do not hate just getting in with these Lumbering Falls here.
Yeah. I think his friends are there in the background. I see Yusuf Vefa there with a phone in his hand, so I assume they're watching the stream to get a better view.
He wants to be stood as close as possible such that when the match is over, he can either commiserate or high-five his friend, but equally he wants to be able to see everything that's going on the board. Right now, the board is not where the action is. It's in the hands of either player. And
there's
just a pass there from Berg Akbulut.
Yeah, he has the Elder Deep Fiend, so...
Yeah, Elder Deep Fiend to tap things end of turn, untap, and then play your Lumbering Falls. That's enough damage.
Yeah, but Berg just now having to realize that he's going for the kill, but he does know that Sunwave Vio has unlicensed disintegration that he's going to play here, so he's just going to try to tap down his opponent as much as possible.
And this is a cast trigger to tap down the lands.
Yeah,
so
but
the mana's going to have to get floated, right?
Exactly. So he's just Vio's going to float some mana, let the cast trigger resolve, and once the Elder Deep Fiend is in play, he'll then have the opportunity to kill the Elder Deep Fiend. But they're shortcutting a little bit here because they both know exactly what is up here. But now is the time for the Lumbering Falls to shine. Draws a card.
There it is.
Doesn't matter what it is. I'm just swinging with my Lumbering Falls. Okay.
3 damage for you.
It's not how I pictured this matchup going in game 3, but yeah, whatever works. Ooh, Gideon though for Sunwave Vio.
Gideon, of course, coming down will deal 2 damage because of that Oath of Chandra, in addition to offering the opportunity to make a blocker.
That was a very good draw. A threat and a creature to protect either the Gideon or the life total. I think Sunwave Vio should be on 4 life here. I don't think the life totals have been updated just yet.
And at end of turn, we will see this Oath of Chandra trigger.
Yep, take 2. And this is also very relevant. Berg down to 4.
Down to 6.
Yeah, I think Sunwave Vio is on 4.
Yeah, Sunwave Vio should be on 4 and Berg on 6.
Okay, I think there's a Servant of the Conduit. Alright, so what are you attacking, Berg? Oof, wouldn't it be classy if Sunwave Vio wasn't 1 and Berg Akbulut top deck Saheeli for the 1 ping? That would be... Whew.
I can dig it.
I can ping it.
I see what you did there.
Nice. Just a block from Vio though. He is protecting life total. There's a Servant of the Conduit. Getting some more energy.
Yeah, Servant of the Conduit not at its best here, but you know what? Bodies on the board.
Let the bodies hit the board. What is it? I want to see the cards. I think it was land. I think it was an Ether Hub.
Yeah, this a very, very tense game at this stage. Both these players, single digits. It's not going to take very much to end this game. Beck on 6. A Gideon attack pretty much forces a chump block here. But equally, a Gideon attack leaves Sunwave Vio open. A new Oath of Chandra to deal with the 1 blocker available for Berg Akbulut.
All right.
What do you want to do now, Sunwave Vio?
Exactly. Here comes the breaking point.
You can attack your opponent to 1, but doing so will mean that you get attacked to 1.
Yep. Or he can create a 2/2. Yeah, a 2/2 knight. No, he's going for it. Look at that.
All right.
Go to 1.
So Saheeli Rai off the top here would be enough to close it out with that
Berg has
+1
land.
ability.
Berg has land in his hand, so he can animate Lumbering Falls, attack Oh, he has enough mana anyway. Sahili off the top. No, that's a Rogue Refiner. Okay. It's a creature. He's going to start off that.
Do not tap that Lumbering Falls to cast Rogue Refiner.
All right. It's 2 energy. Whirl of Virtuoso will be also a great draw.
Oh, Whirl of Virtuoso would be fantastic here.
Other Deep Fiend would be a good draw. He's really good at hiding his cards. Come on, Burke. I see some players jumping around in the feature match area, just outside. The fans of Samuels. And probably Burke's as well. I think he just drew a Spiral Bluff Canal. Well, Burke Agbula can now attack Sam Vio down to 1. Putting the ball firmly in his corner. I mean, Burke can now stay back, and if Samuel Vio has removal for the Rogue Refine, he can still block with the Lumbering Falls. But at this point, I would be like, yeah, screw that. I'm attacking here. Because if Burke attacks here with the Lumbering Falls, puts Samuel Vio down to 1, Vio has to top that. He has to find something to win.
This is super tense.
Yeah. Passes. Oh no. What is it? Planeswalker.
A little knock on the top of the deck there from Samuel Vio. He shuffles it around in his hand. He doesn't want Burke to know whether or not he just had it.
I think it's a Chandra, right? I think it's a Chandra.
If it's a Chandra, then this game's all over.
Yeah, this game's over. It's really over.
Any Planeswalker is enough to end it.
I mean, maybe he's scared of Negate for now.
That would be a reasonable fear. I think you're right. I think it is a Chandra. Starts off by activating Gideon. Gideon swings in.
Okay.
Animates the Lumbering Falls here. Interesting.
Yeah, he's now seeing Burke tap out. And blocked with Lumbering Falls. And then Chandra plus kill you. Boom! There it is.
Samuel Vio making it through, taking down Beck. Beck looks at the top of his deck, desperately trying to find what he needed. Shows Samuel Vio that he did not have the cards in hand that he needed. Had to represent something, could not represent enough. It will be the Frenchman, the #1 seed, Samuel Vio, that advances through to the semi-finals. That the last of our quarterfinals. So let's just do a quick roundup on how they went.
Oh, wait, Tim. I'll sum it up quickly. We have all 3 Mardu Ballistas decks losing game 1, but winning their matches. And they're all going to the semifinals. That's amazing.
And the one lone dissenter is going to be David Brooker. He's with Black-Green. He was playing regular Mardu vehicles. Let's see how he fares against the Ballistas in our semifinals after this break.